Hey everyone, thanks for clicking on my video. This is Rocky and this review will be for episode 8 of Arrow. Gonna go ahead and jump into what I enjoyed about this episode, as this is essentially part 2 to our Flash Arrow crossover. And I definitely enjoyed the introduction of the character of Digger Harkness, aka Captain Boomerang, as I thought the show actually found some ways to make him actually kind of a cool character. As in the comics, he always seemed kind of a joke character to me. I never really took him seriously, and the fact that the boomerangs he used were very close to, the type of batarangs that Batman used, seemed kind of a rip-off kind of character to me. But yeah, I mean, he in the comics he was, a cowardly character. He was he's pretty racist as well. Even the villains didn't like him, but I mean, in this case, they portrayed him as a kind of some redeeming qualities. As essentially they kept a part of him being in the Suicide Squad, which is part of Argus, and his basically whole team was wiped out by Lila, basically because they were compromised. He somehow survived, and now is coming back basically for revenge. So, I mean, he's a villain, but he doesn't have that cowardly aspect that he had in the comics. So, like I said, the way they portrayed him with the boomerangs and everything, and his demeanor, everything, and how smart he was, and, all the tactics he used throughout the episode, including, towards the end, setting those, 5 bombs throughout the city. I mean, it made him a pretty good villain, I thought. Especially, we needed to have someone pretty strong for this episode, since it was the, team up with Flash and Arrow. And at first, when I, thought it was Captain Boomerang, I was like, this isn't going to work. There's no reason that Arrow is going to need Flash for this. Well, it turns out he did. So, I mean, definitely kudos to the writers. They definitely handled that very well. And in the episode, we also get a lot of good moments with Diggle and Lila. And I really enjoy their romance, as it's not as teen angst ridden as the other relationships kind of in the series. I mean, something CW is known for is definitely angst in their relationships, and we get that with Oliver and Felicity, and now we throw Ray Palmer in the mix, and then we had that angst with Roy and Thea, and now we have Thea in this DJ guy Chase. So it's just nice seeing an actual romance, per se, that we get with Diggle and Lila. And we get all kinds of references and hints throughout this episode of them not being married but still being considered like husband and wife by most of the characters. So it was nice getting that payoff towards the end of Diggle actually proposing to Lila again. Granted, she just woke up in a hospital bed, but it's just, I really enjoyed Diggle's character. I keep hoping that they're going to do something more with him. Whether he gains some type of power or, just something more with his character. Sometimes I feel like he's slightly underused. But, it was nice seeing his, emotional involvement in this episode. There was definitely a lot of comedy in this episode, which I enjoyed, because we don't get that a lot in Arrow. We get, a few moments here and there, but it tends to be a more serious show compared to like The Flash. So thankfully, by having, Barry and Cisco and Caitlin on the show, we get a little bit more of that comedy, especially down in the Arrow Cave, which, Oliver's constantly like, we don't call it that, and everyone's calling it that. And, seeing him turn over to look at Felicity and say, see what you started. It's just, it kind of reminded me of, the earlier days in Arrow when they had that friendship kind of relationship. So they didn't play off any of their romantic issues in this episode, which I was very thankful for, because we've kind of been getting hit over a hammer with that with Oliver and Felicity, except with Ray Palmer getting thrown in the mix now. But just seeing all the moments where Cisco's talking with Roy, and it just seemed like they were kind of natural buddies at this point. And, just the back and forth between the teams was really great. And the fact that, Barry, basically outed himself to Lila because he was under the impression that, of course Diggle would have told her about him. But, Diggle is an expert at keeping secrets, and, it's just, and Barry kind of just shrugs it off. It's like, so. But, this does make the connection that Lila is part of Argus. So is she going to tell Waller about Barry? I don't know. I don't think she will. I get the feeling that Lila's going to move away from Argus at some point. At least that's kind of the impression I'm getting, because, she keeps having to do all these things that she's, not necessarily comfortable with doing, but it's her job. But, we have Diggle there constantly reminding her that, these are people and these are lives on the line and things like that. So I think that's starting to make an impression on her. So like I said, we may see her move away from Argus, but it'll be, we'll just have to see how that's gonna play out later on, especially with their daughter and everything. Now I can definitely see her wanting to spend more time with their daughter as well as Diggle, especially if they are going to get, remarried. Fingers crossed, hopefully that happens. Marriages, when in comics, don't always work out so well. So, this is a TV show, so hopefully we'll see that pay off, because that would be very nice, I think. And, we get a lot of really good moments with Barry and Oliver working together. We see Barry, trying to play off of what Oliver told him in the last episode of The Flash, casing in a full area before moving in, things like that. So he's trying to, show Oliver that he's doing this by, going in all these areas and taking out basically all the bad guys and things like that. But, he does miss things, and, he still has that little bit of cockiness about him that's associated with his speed. But, at this point, Barry's kind of getting his hero worship blinders, basically taken off, and he's seeing how Oliver gets his information and how Oliver, goes through his process, and it's bugging him because, again, Barry is a police officer. So, he believes in, right and wrong and, innocent until proven guilty and things like that. Whereas Oliver's just to the point of, I need information. I'm going to get it the most direct way I know how. Which usually involves puncturing someone with at least one arrow. And, this connects back to the flashback in Hong Kong we get where Waller's trying to get Oliver to push himself to interrogate this prisoner to try and find out where these explosives are. And, we come to find out that it's not necessarily that she wanted him to learn interrogation. He needs to learn how to basically torture. And, she gets a feeling that he would be actually pretty good at it if he just gave in. So, that connects back to some of the things she said about, taking extreme measures and things like that. So, we're continuing to get those connections between what happened in Hong Kong and what's going on in a current episode. But, Oliver, he's, gives a speech to Barry about how, he doesn't feel like there's much of Oliver left anymore. It's just the arrow. And Barry just, basically calls BS on it and lets Oliver know that he thinks he still has, that humanity, that light in him that can be shared. But he can't do it as the arrow. He has to do it as Oliver Queen. So this is just, kind of reinforcing that, Oliver has to come back into the light at some point. And, it's kind of that push towards getting him to become closer to the Green Arrow character as opposed to just Arrow. Whereas, Oliver Queen in the comics does, a lot of good things with his company. And we, granted, Queen Consolidated, taken over by Ray Palmer. But, I get the feeling he's going to start something new. And as Oliver Queen, and just that way he can embrace that side of himself again. And because right now he's basically just kind of lost, and he's basically just putting everything into being the Arrow, so he doesn't have to deal with all the guilt and issues he has, because he fully admits that he's definitely not right in the head, and definitely not emotionally sound and things like that. But it's nice seeing that reversal where in this case Barry's kind of taking on that mentor role a little bit, and letting Oliver know that he believes in him, whereas in the Flash episode we had Oliver in that mentor role. So Like I said, it's just really good chemistry between those characters. So I really enjoyed those scenes. Like I said, it's very refreshing seeing, Oliver open up that way, because he doesn't really do that much. He does a little bit with Diggle. Basically, he doesn't open up all with Felicity anymore, but with Barry, he can open up. So I definitely enjoyed that scene. I hope you guys did too. We also get Arrow gets a brand new suit, courtesy of Cisco and Star Labs. As again, Cisco loves playing with toys, as he states in this episode as well. But I get the feeling, this was basically just kind of, a pretty fair trade-off, because in the previous episodes, Felicity did do some major upgrading to the Star Labs systems, their computers and everything. So I think we're going to be seeing a lot of that kind of back and forth between the shows, where, Arrow's going to start getting, and Arsenal as well, going to get some upgrades to their equipment, be it different suits, hopefully a new bow for Arsenal, but maybe some different arrows and things like that. And then in turn, Felicity is going to continue to help Star Labs build up their system. So we're getting that connection between the shows that's going to continue on even off screen. So they're putting those building blocks in. Plus we have now where Star Labs has the DNA sample from the arrow that killed Sarah. And, they're going to do what they can to figure it out. So I think that's what's going to connect into basically the next episode of Arrow, which should be basically our mid-season break. And like I said in previous videos, I was hoping by the mid-season break we'd get the resolution to Sarah's killer and get that arc out of the way, and then it'll probably start a new arc. And, based off the pictures we're seeing online, next episode definitely is going to involve Ra's al Ghul and the League of Assassins, and looks like Oliver may be actually going to them. So Stephen Amell's been releasing a lot of photos on Facebook, as well as the Arrow Facebook page has been showing those pictures as well, showing basically Oliver and Ra's al Ghul fighting in what looks like almost an icy kind of mountainous area. Shirtless, of course, as Stephen Amell likes taking his shirt off as much as he can, it seems. But yeah, so I think that's what's going to happen. We're going to get that arc finished up, and then it's going to begin a new arc that's going to carry us into the second half. And from all things we're seeing online as well, it looks like we will be seeing the return of Deathstroke during the second half of the season as well. So a lot of big things to look forward to in that second half. All in all, this was, I definitely believe this was the best episode of the season, and the ratings definitely reflect that as well. And I think the reason that it did so well is the team up just felt so natural between the Flash characters and the Arrow characters. And I think a lot of that has to do with that, Grant Gustin's already been on Arrow before, as well as the characters of Cisco and Caitlin were previous on the Arrow as well. So the characters and actors have already had so much time to develop that chemistry between them that it just felt so natural. And it really has me hopeful with what they're going to do with the new characters they're bringing in. We have Ray Palmer's eventually going to take on the Atom persona. We have Firestorm on Flash. We have hints of other characters possibly down the line, but that's kind of the new characters we're looking at now. And just knowing that, the characters are already going to have, the actors are already going to have that built-in chemistry with them. Because, Brandon Ruth has already been on Arrow for a while now. So it's just going to feel natural when he basically becomes part of the team, or, at least helps out with the team. And then likewise with Robbie Amell playing Firestorm on The Flash. He's already been in previous episodes, so he's already been hanging out on the set and things with the other actors. So again, we're going to have that built-in chemistry already that's just going to, I think, naturally come across on screen, which is what happened in this episode. Which is, again, why I think it did so well in the ratings. It felt like an actual episode. I mean, I enjoyed the Flash versus Arrow episode, but in this episode, it actually felt more like a team-up. And, like I said, it just was done very well. Writing has just been awesome in both series, and Arrow has just started something very magical with this DC television universe. And, a lot of that has to do with Stephen Amell and how he's been pushing for the show since day one. And then when Flash was announced, pushing for them. And, just his fan interaction and everything like that, I think has really drawn people to the show. And then, likewise to the Flash. But, like I said, there's something very magical. It's akin to what Marvel's been doing with their cinematic universe. By building the connections, building brick by brick, basically. It's what Arrow started, and now we have the Flash. We have new characters coming on there. There's rumors about a Suicide Squad spinoff from Arrow. So there's any number of ways we can go from here. But just seeing all these characters from the comics presented on the small screen and presented well, I think is just, like I said, it's a very magical thing. I'm very excited for the rest of this season of both The Flash and Arrow. I hope you guys are as well. Definitely let me know down in the comments below what you thought about the episode. And which was your favorite, the Flash versus Arrow or the Brave and the Bold team up on Arrow? Like I said, I kind of like this Brave and the Bold on Arrow, as again, it was an actual team up. But I'd be interested to see what you guys thought. And also let me know if you have any questions about any of the characters or different, ideas presented in this episode. Go and put those down in the comments below as well. I'll be happy to go over that information with you. If you've enjoyed my video, I'd ask you to go ahead and give me a thumbs up and share the video over Twitter, Facebook, Google+, whatever social media works for you. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel, as I will be doing weekly reviews of Arrow, as well as the other Marvel and DC television shows going on right now. And if you have subscribed to my channel, thank you very much. I really do appreciate you coming on board, and look forward to having some great conversations with you. With all that being said, I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Bye.